Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our weekly office hours. My name is George Soto, one of the co-founders here at Asset Mule slash Follow Up. We got a new product. If you're interested, ping Justin. But today, I am really excited to be joined by the sales mad scientist himself, Tito Bohrt, who is like, Tito, you are the I just don't know anyone better than you, man. And I'll tell you why. Couple things. Number one, like, yes, you've been doing this. You walk the walk. You're not, nothing against the LinkedIn influencers out there. I think being an influencer is great and a legitimate business. I wish that I could monetize my feed a little better. But you've walked the walk. You've run teams. You know the qualitative stuff. But I think one of your key attributes is the fact that you have all this research and data and you can back shit up. So let's just dive into value. But I just, for the folks out there, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, go ahead and comment. You're probably watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube. And this is your moment to ask the best in the game. Justin, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, Tito, super excited to have you on. As you know, George and I are huge fans of sales development. We come from that background. We build teams. We've been sales development reps ourselves. And I've found, at least recently, right, in the last year or so, obviously everybody's talking about AI, how it's impacting sales, but it seems like everybody's got their target on sales development, right? And it's like the hot takes, is sales development dead? Is it more powerful than ever with AI? So got a ton of questions that I'm going to be throwing your way, but to start off today, just want to get your sort of lay of the land, right? What does sales development look like today in 2015 versus previous years? If you're an SDR listening in, should you be running for the hills looking for the new role or the new career, or is this the most exciting time ever to be an SDR? Would love just to start there.
Yeah, and I'll start by saying, if people go deep into my operations and my content, and you go ask ChatGPT, I guess, when did Tito Bohrt say for the first time that AI SDRs would fail? And you'll see it was in 2022 or 2021. As soon as somebody started putting things about AI SDRs, I said they would fail. And most people thought that I was saying that because I'm biased. I run a sales development as a service company, SDR agency, whatever people want to call it. And oh yeah, he's protecting his ground. No, I'm not. I studied behavioral economics and decision neuroscience, and I defined the work of an SDR to stand out from the crowd and be able to earn 15, 20, 25 minutes off your prospect's day. But to do so, you got to demonstrate that you put more time, more effort, more love, more resources into trying to get this meeting than anybody else would, right? Like me as a CEO and a lot of other VPs that I know at big companies, if you ask him hey, there's about 100 vendors that want to talk to you. Are you always saying no to vendors? Will you say no to everybody? They'll tell you, usually I say no, but if there's 100, I will talk to one. Who's willing to put all the time, effort, and money worth so that they can stand out and I will take the meeting with them? That's the mindset always, right? I'll give somebody a chance. Everybody wants a chance. Everybody is at a company and their teams are trying to build pipeline. So everybody wants a chance. So as a prospect, what are you expecting? You're expecting somebody to put a lot more time, effort, and love into their process. Now, here's why AI SDRs are an oxymoron. And I've said this 5 years ago. So this is old news. But the reason it's an oxymoron is because whatever the AI SDR can do for you, it can also do for all your competitors, especially if you're buying one off the shelf. If you go by artisan or qualified or whatever it's doing for you, it can do for everybody else. And because it can do that for everybody, it can never stand out. And because it can never stand out, it will not work. Now, let's correct that. Are there periods of time, like a couple of weeks or a couple of months, where you can deploy an AI SDR that's doing something super innovative and it will work for weeks? Yes, it will. But any AI SDR company has maybe 3 weeks to 10 weeks that it will work. After 10 weeks, it stops working. And if your competitor has tried it and it worked for them, it will now no longer work for you. It's absolutely crap. I'll tell you another thing that was 5 years ago that I said this. You can find the podcast, you can find the webinars, you can find the LinkedIn posts. I've been saying ASDRs won't work. A lot of people are now on the trend of like GTM engineers. GTM engineers are the next thing. You know what was the first time I wrote about the idea of GTM engineers, even though I didn't call it a GTM engineer? 2017. In 2017, I said, having my SDRs research their own accounts and copy paste data from one place to the other is bonkers. I have an engineering team that is going to run massive Excel sheets with enrichment, with different data sources. We're going to run pivot tables. Now we have things like Clades, making it all much easier, but it's the same concept. I wrote about the SDR assembly line in 2017. I said, step number one, I need a team of engineers going and looking at all my target accounts and account scoring. Step number two, I need to enrich that data. I'm going to do that out of Philippines. I'm not going to have my SDRs on Zoom Info, Lucia, Lidaki. Are you crazy? That's nuts. I'm going to send people in the Philippines. Now that can be automated by the same engineer. Step number three, I'm going to find the contacts and I'm going to put them in the right sequence. And I need somebody to write the sequence. And it's not going to be the SDR. Are you nuts? We're going to give that to the SDR manager. We're going to start creating this process. And then the SDR is going to be making the phone calls, sending the LinkedIn, and they're going to be coached and managed by the SDR. So I've been talking about GTM engineers for years. People are just not always looking at the content, thinking about it, and implementing it. Or sometimes it happens a lot. I get people telling me, Tito, I've been trying to convince my company to hire a team of data people, and like they're going to do, but my company doesn't want to put budget. What do I do? Quit. Quit. Leave. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere where somebody's willing to innovate. Why? The prospects are only taking meetings with the top 1% of people that stand out. If your company is not willing to put the time, effort, money, and resources to stand out, you will never build pipeline. You're dead. And that's why I think as time goes by, the area where companies need to put the most money is pipeline generation. Now, we're in a really strange moment in time where the pendulum is swinging the other way. Everybody got enamored with the AI SDR, and everybody's saying how now AI SDRs are so much cheaper, blah, blah, blah. So now everybody wants to cut budgets. Everybody wants to do tool consolidation. Guess what happens when you do tool consolidation? I've talked about this too. Everything breaks because you either have an excellent sales engagement platform with a really bad call recording technology and a fairly terrible pipeline forecasting tool, talking about outreach, or you have a great forecasting tool, talking about Clary, with a horrible sales engagement platform and a pretty bad call recording technology, or you have a great call recording technology like Gong with a horrible sales engagement platform. Like, really? You're going to try to save how much? $70 per user per month? That's the difference between one and the other platform. And to do that, you're going to lose 50% of your pipeline. Like, it's bonkers. It's bonkers what people are doing. Throw more money at the tools, throw more money at the people, build more pipeline. If you need more sales and you're lacking AE capacity, that's so easy. Just hire more AEs, right? If you have too many AEs, let go of AEs. But when it's sales development, we have this idea where like a really incredible SDR can get 15 outbound meetings a month. That's where we are. 15 outbound meetings a month. A really bad one, 2. If you get really smart with the tools and processes, you can 7x the process. I don't know if in the AE side you can do that with just tools and processes. Like, can you make one set of AEs 7 times more effective than the other? With just investing $2,000 a month, $1,000 a month, $500 a month per rep? I don't think you can do that. So super interesting where SDR world is today.
So for the folks out there, because we've been seeing this like crazy, I try not to get too like sucked into my LinkedIn feed but it's the middle of the night. My wife's sleeping. I'm bored. I'm like, but so for the folks out there, can we say officially that like the SDR is still alive and kicking, and that Outbound is still alive and kicking? It's the fundamentals of crappy stuff or just poorly executed strategies that maybe are like there's less tolerance for it than ever. Is that like an accurate way of saying it?
I think the best way to analyze the market right now is look at the company's growth. So the companies that are winning when it comes to growth is like a lot of AI companies that are like pretty self-serve get started, right? So if you're like OpenAI, you're growing like crazy. If you're like Cursor, if you're like Lovable, if you're like any of these like AI tools, you're growing like crazy. No sales team, no sales process, whatever else. And then maybe they do upsells on the enterprise, whatever else. That all is working well. But it's like there's 20 companies growing like bananas and everybody else flat, no growth. And when you look at it, what that means is 99% of the market is not selling as much as they were expecting. And if you ask them why, they say we don't have enough pipeline. So 99% of the market has a pipeline problem. So what are the ways that you can solve the pipeline problem? Depends what data you're looking at. A lot of people will be like, well, the SDRs are not producing enough pipeline. How do we solve that? You have three options. Hire AI SDRs. We know how that's going to go. We know how that's been going. I mean, at the SaaStr 2024 event or 2023, I think it was like, the hype was AI SDRs is the biggest thing, blah, blah, blah. The next one, I think it was May 2025, they reported that 97% of AI SDR projects failed. It was nuts. It was super hyped, and that's not going to work. So now you have two other options. One, double down on your SDR team, train them better, build better tools, better workflows, better processes, or get rid of your SDR team and simply have your AEs prospect. Now, why do I think AEs doing their own prospecting is going to fail? I'll tell you the argument for why you should try it. The argument to try it is as follows. We're analyzing the meetings sourced by SDRs and the meetings sourced by AEs, and the meetings sourced by AEs closed at a higher rate. Can we all agree on that? Yes, that happens every time. You know why? 3 reasons. The opportunities AEs open are closed, lost deals that told them, call me in 6 months or 9 months or 12 months. Now, if the SDR calls them and opens that up, it would close at the exact same rate that the AE. That doesn't matter who called. No, it's the type of op. Option number 2, the AE gets an introduction from a current customer or from somebody they sold before or from a friend.
Referral, yeah.
If you get a referral that closes at a much higher rate, of course. So, like, is it really the SDR versus the AE? Like, it doesn't matter who makes the call. No, what really matters is what sort of play are you running? Are you running a reheat, the close lost? Are you getting a referral play? What play are you running? So now what we really need to get smarter about is like, let's run smarter plays. If you do that, you win. And again, we go back to what I wrote about in 2017. Build an assembly line. You want the SDR who just graduated college. You hire this kid, economics major at Purdue University. Beautiful, great, come, welcome. Build the plays. What? He's 22, bro. We know people that have been in the sales development space for 5 years. They don't even know how to ideate, build, use the tools. The ramp is too high. So you need an engineer to ideate the play. You need an SDR leader, a manager to ideate the play. But you need somebody who's like experienced, thoughtful, diligent, organized, and a good performer. Now, if your SDR manager makes 10K more than the SDR, and their OTE is still like right over 100K, and they live in New York, They'd rather take an AE job where they can make twice as much money just from closing inbound leads that are like order takers. So the role is broken because we haven't incentivized the right people to be in the role. You put the right people in the SDR management role, you put a GTM engineer building the right plays and scrubbing the right data, and you put senior SDRs on that. I'm like, imagine you do this. I'm going to give you a sick play. Everybody's going to copy this. I don't care. Find your top 10 happiest customers. Go on LinkedIn. Find all their friends. Download that list. Find your way. Clay can do it. There's other tools that can do it. Download that list. Figure out who of the friends of your customers are also in your ICP. Put them on a sequence. How do you know George Soto? How do you know customer? How do you know customer? And start sending them emails. Hey, Justin. Found you on LinkedIn, and you are one of my top 10 target accounts. I saw you're also friends with George Soto, who's a really happy customer of ours. Would love to connect with you, wondering how are you managing, how are you creating the most pipeline you can for Asset Mule? Cheers, Tito. What's the first thing that Justin's going to do? Grab George Soto's phone number, email, LinkedIn, and message George and be like, dude, do you work with AltiSales or know anything about this Tito guy? And because you're one of my top 10 customers, you guys are not, but you would likely reply, oh yeah, dude, they rock. Justin then responds to my email, sure, let's chat. It's so easy, except it's not. It's like getting a six-pack. Who has no idea how to get a six-pack here? You guys have no idea how to get a six-pack?
You know what I got to say?
We just don't do it. We don't execute it, right? You know how to do it.
I know exactly how to get a six-pack. Do I have a six-pack? Not a chance, dude. I'm freaking 20 pounds overweight.
I do. You just can't see it below.
Yeah, right now, I did really well. But that's sales development for you. Everybody knows how to do it. Nobody wants to put in the effort. And people are like, maybe I can just try Ozempic. No, you're going to go blind. You're going to get a heart attack. You're going to fucking die. Don't do that. Go to the gym, eat healthy, and build your pipeline the right way. Shortcuts are not going to make you're not going to make it.
So Tito, let me ask you this. I've heard it's awesome to hear, about the AI SDR and sort of maybe debunking some of the enthusiasm around it, right? But I've also heard on the other side the predictable revenue model, right? The sort of thing that kicked off this whole SDR movement in the first place is dead, right? But what it sounds like from what you're saying is
absolutely
it's still alive.
Yeah.
Maybe there's new tools, there's new plays, but would you say at its core the idea of having sort of specialized SDR roles and using tools to automate sequences at scale and data to sort of inform who you're reaching out to and how you're reaching out to, all those things that maybe were sort of initially the foundation of the SDR play, it's still the way to go?
I mean, if you read the book, Predictable Revenue by Aaron Ross, Aaron and I know each other, great guy. Like when you say it's dead, what part is dead? Because it's a whole book. It has 150 pages. It tells you about a lot of things. Now, let me tell you the play that Predictable Revenue recommended running. It says, email the CEO and ask him who's in charge of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And they will forward your email and they'll tell you it's George, and then just pitch George. That was the play. Now, this is 2001. There was no LinkedIn. So that piece has been dead for a decade or more. Mm-hmm. Useless in today's day and age. But the idea that you need to build a role dedicated to pipeline, I think is alive and well.
Yeah.
Similarly to you need, customer success and onboarding and you need people looking at different parts of the journey and trying to tweak it and optimize it and make it better. If you don't have a dedicated, do you really compare this? Grab a top 10% SDR in the world right now, right? And then grab your average AE Who do you think is better at building pipeline? Like by far the SDR, by far. Because the average AE hasn't made cold calls in a while. And then when you're like sending a proposal and doing this and like rescheduling a meeting and like negotiating a contract and like cleaning up your pipeline, and then it's like, okay, I got 18 minutes. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to have the mental capacity to switch tasks again and put their headset and get on Outreach and start dialing for dollars? Are you joking? That's never going to happen. The only way A's are building pipeline is referrals, friends, and it's going to be just like the frenzy we had in 2022, where everybody was like, forget top of funnel, forget net new, everybody upsell, increase your price, like go after your current customers and sell them more. And like we all did that. And it worked great for 6 months, maybe for a year. But to the guy that you already increased their price 30% last year, they come to the renewal again, and you're like, we're going to increase this year again 30%. You know what they say? Fuck you, I'm consolidating. I'm just going to buy the sales engagement platform from Gong. And you're like, no, don't leave. Like those things are short-term thinking. Your AEs, please have them reach out to all their friends, get all their referrals. Okay, that works for 6 months. And then what? Like at some point, you got to go eat the salad and go to the gym and get the six-pack. If you're not willing, like everybody's trying to find every possible way to build pipeline without SDRs. It's bananas. It's bananas. You need to dedicate it.
Let me ask you this then. So like going a little deeper into the predictable revenue model. So I totally agree with you. The sort of separation of the AE and the SDR role makes sense, right? Having a dedicated role that's focused on pipeline. Sure, AEs are going to do some of their own prospecting, but a dedicated role makes a ton of sense. There was also that segmentation of the inbound SDR versus the outbound SDR, right? And I'm curious your thoughts on the inbound SDR and what is the role of the inbound SDR today? Does it still exist? You know, do people want to fill out a lead form, have to jump on a call, get sort of grilled with all these questions? Or does that get automated out, and is sort of that segment of the SDR function no longer, relevant, and now it's more about outbound prospecting?
It's interesting because a lot of people will put the divide between inbound and outbound in different places.
Yeah.
And I can go down different rabbit holes, but I'll tell you, I divide the world in 3 buckets: hand raisers, which I call inbound; demo requests, contact us forms, and chat. Then bucket number 2 is MQLs, which is called hot or warm outbound, which is people who attended a webinar, came to a trade show, downloaded a case study, visited the website. It's warm outbound. They have brand familiarity at a minimum, sometimes even function familiarity or feature familiarity. They know exactly what you do. If you ask me, hey, what do you know about user gems? I'm a hot outbound for them because I know the tool and I know what they do. Now, do I know everything about them? They just released something called Jemmy. I have no idea what Jemmy does. If they outbound to me, I'm more likely to take the meeting. So I'm warm. And then you have cold outbound. Like, for a lot of the people that might be following me here, how many of you know what Asset Mule is? Maybe a lot of people have no idea. They're cold. Now they're coming to a webinar. They might now open up their browser, look at it. We're warming people up. So what do I believe? For hand raisers, why did you ever need an SDR? You never needed an SDR. What did you need? You needed an executive assistant. You need a receptionist, right? Somebody wants to come talk to you. You just need to help them schedule the meeting. It's kind of like a doctor's office. You call the doctor, hello, I need to come see the doctor. They just need to schedule you and see if you're a right fit. If they're like, hello, I need brain surgery. What? Like, sorry, we're a primary care doctor. We don't do brain surgery. You're disqualified. Goodbye. Right? Or like, let me send you to the right. But that role can be fully automated nowadays so easily. Mm-hmm. But that was never I wouldn't call that an SDR. The inbound SDR was just useless. What I did from the beginning is all my inbounds, they don't go to my SDR team. They go to customer support. The inbound demo form goes to customer support because they're very attentive to the chat and they respond very quickly. They know what the ICP is. They know when it is qualified and send it to sales. Now, for all outbound, both warm and cold, I think you need SDRs. Why? Because the prospect has not raised their hand yet. Think about it this way. Is ChatGPT helpful? Yes. When? When I want it to help me, right? Now, can ChatGPT control me or have me do something I don't want to do? Like, will it pop up on my screen and like share something with me and then that's helpful or I pay attention to it? No, like it's weird. Like all these AIs are good to respond to a human inquiry. But what the AI is not helpful at is I don't think I need a project management tool. I'm happy with what I have. I use Excel sheets for it. I'm fine. How's the AI going to convince me? You know what I mean? That's where you need an SDR. You need somebody that says, hey, Justin, I've been looking at your company. You've been growing 17% year over year. You're now at the point where usually your company has grown enough that you need project management. Are you still running things on Excel sheets or have you become a little bit more sophisticated? And then I'm like, interesting, right? And if it's an email, I'll maybe ignore it and I'll delete it. But then if you call me, you're like, hey, Justin, so you opened my email. This is the guy who messaged you about the project management stuff. You have 2 minutes. You'd be like, yeah, sure. What's up, dude? Yeah, same question, man. Are you still running Excel sheets or are you doing something more sophisticated? You're like, yeah, still on Excel sheets. Cool, man. Like, I don't want to sell you anything today, but would you be open to me sharing my screen and showing you in 15 minutes how companies go from Excel to like the next level? It will help you evolve the business so that you can get to the next level as a business as well. What are you going to say as a CEO? Fuck you, I don't want to be better. No, you'd be like, sure, dude, I'll look at it. And now you need a really good demo and prove to me that there's value in me getting out of Excel and spending money on it. If I don't think I'm going to get money back, I'm not going to, or time back, I'm not going to buy it. But these things, to somebody who's bought hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars worth of software, and who has sold millions of dollars of software, they're so obvious. It's just when you haven't bought enough or sold enough, it's really hard to understand how people think, both buyers and sellers.
So I on the inbound SDR front, real quick, I think it's been getting heat for a long time. It's not just AI, right? Like people have been complaining about that buying experience, right? Of having to sort of fill out a form, wait to get a call scheduled, ask questions, even to see the product and so on. So, but I did used to think that it was a decent training ground for a, just out of college, getting your first, not just sales role, but your first professional role, right? Before moving into an outbound role. How does that change now? Does it just mean that somebody starts further down the line where they're now starting from the line of trying to get meetings, right? Instead of, getting your feet wet, talking to people on a call, figuring out how to do discovery and stuff like that. How does that entry level role evolve now without the inbound being maybe that training ground?
I think inbound as a training ground was always a terrible idea because when you're inbound, you get the most technical questions and the most sophisticated buyers.
It's true.
And then all the answers are like, I don't know. You can ask the next person, but can you tell me how many employees do you have? It's like, fuck you, dude. Like, just don't waste my time. Why am I hopping on a call with an SDR for them to ask me these dumb questions? And, this was solved pre-AI. Like Chili Piper solved this problem years ago. Like the pre-AI era, they had solved this problem. It's just account routing, right? Enrich the account, figure out if it's a good fit, enrich it, send it to the right place. And hey, if you get it wrong 10% of the time, as long as it's like a lot of false positives rather than false negatives, you're good, right? Meaning if you have 50 inbound inquiries and the software detects 30 of these are trash, 20 are good, and then you actually look at the 20 and 18 are good and 2 are bad, the 2 that are bad, the AE can look at it on the calendar and be like, why are we talking to this company? This is not good. You can just email them and cancel, right? And just cancel your inbound. What you don't want to do is the tool should not weed out somebody that was good. That's a bad idea because then you're losing the opportunity. You're giving them a bad experience. You're burning kind of like company clout and credibility on a valid prospect. But inbound SDR was a bad training ground. What I like doing is I grab my outbound SDRs and I give them like tier 3 accounts. that are cold. That's your training ground. I don't care if you say a little bit of the wrong thing. I don't care if you don't have the right objection handling. But like for us, we have a tool called Caddy, and what we do is we help SDR teams perform better. And you got to be using outreach for us to be able to serve you right now. We're going to be in other platforms in the future. But when I have entry-level SDRs, I just have them train on SDR teams that have 2 to 5 SDRs. Go call them. And like, if they reject you, tell you no, tell you to go to hell, no big deal. Would I still sign a client with 4 SDRs? Yeah, I would. I'll take him. It's a couple $100 a month. It'll be a cheap contract. But like, I'm not going to have you as day number 1. I'm going to go call Rippling, and you're going to call Bill.com, and you're going to call. Are you nuts? Like, those are the best, most important prospects. Like, we got to give them an incredible experience. We got to wow them. I want my most senior, most experienced. Those are my tier 1 accounts. So now, wait a second. Have you not tiered your accounts yet? Why? Because you didn't build your assembly line? Why? Because you didn't believe in GTM engineers? Why? Right? And we get back full circle. And if you have the GTM engineer, but you don't have the person on the phone, you're still going to fail. Because they're just going to get a bunch of emails, but nobody's calling them, and nobody's sending them a LinkedIn. Nobody's putting love and care. So it's super interesting where we are in the world. But I think with a little bit more time, as you see this in 6 months, 12 months, I think the number of SDR teams that exist is going to continue to grow. I don't think that we're going to have as many SDR teams that are like 300, 400, 500 SDRs. I think we're going to get a lot of SDR teams somewhere between, 2 and like 50 people. And they're going to be much more strategic and much more thoughtful. And they're going to be running different sorts of plays consistently in trying to like get better leads.
That reminds me of when my first SaaS company that I was an SDR, which at the time we were just inside sales rep, inbound versus outbound. We actually started off with outbound. So like that was the first stage, because they were like, we want you to get, hammered and get your face kicked in and see if you can hang here, getting the phones hung up on you. And then you would graduate to inbound to be more strategic, right? Obviously, there was some filtering at the time, actually not as nice as it is today. And then you would actually graduate to AE. So that was the way that we did it back then. Tito, I got to ask you, I know we have a couple minutes left, but you talked about the investing in the right tools, right? Today we have better tools than ever before. And these processes, I know we can't really dive into, really extensive processes out there for people to kind of think through right now. But like, if you had some, 1 or 2 kind of like critical tools that they needed to invest in right now. I think you mentioned one earlier. What would those be? And like, maybe if there's any sort of insight you can provide for them to like wrap their heads around and go like, I'm going to buy X and I'm going to start doing X with this. And that might be ripping up your existing playbook.
Yeah. So as I was saying earlier, you have the consolidation of tools like Gong building sales engagement and Clarity building sales engagement and getting into, let's say, the outreach and sales ops world. And everybody's trying to build everybody else's tool. But I'm going to keep it very simple. If you're an early stage company, you need for sure a data provider. I continue to believe that both ZoomInfo and LeadIQ are really good tools and they provide good data. You need a sales engagement platform. I used to say that this was either Outreach or SalesLoft. See, now that SalesLoft they fired their whole SDR team. They are believing that the AI SDR is the future. I am completely against it. I've explained in this webinar why. I would not go buy SalesLoft because they're not going to invest in that area. They also got bought by PE. There's a lot of problems in that world. So I think your only choice is Outreach. Like, I believe in them so much. I want to try to go buy stock from that company. I think they're going to go back up. And then outside of that, like the way that I was successful 5 years ago, which continues to be true, is like, you just got to look at your data. And like, I'm a data nerd. So like, I was looking at like, what's my bounce rate? Like, everybody knows their bounce rate. But then let me ask you deeper questions. What's your bounce rate per rep? What's your bounce rate per sequence? What's your bounce rate per day of the week? What's your bounce rate per hour of the day? What's your bounce rate based on how many emails you've sent that company? Like, holy shit, I just asked 4 or 5 different questions that are intriguing and interesting, second, third layer questions that most people are not asking. And because they're not asking, they are not able to find root cause. If your bounce rate's over 3%, you're going to get in trouble. Now, what's the problem? Is it your data provider? Is it your SDR workflows? Or is it your infrastructure for sending email? And if you're in outreach, there's different ways to configure it, and you can make it good. But if you're not even looking at like, is the bounce rate the same for everybody? Is the bounce rate the same for every sequence? Is the bounce rate the same for MQLs versus, webinars, trade shows, case studies? Like, where's the bounce rate wrong? Why? If you don't understand why, you can't fix it. So, I become very successful through just looking at that. And it depends how much your company is willing to invest in that. So when I spoke with, leaders at big companies, if you think of a company like Snowflake, right? They have like 2 or 3 data scientists dedicated to looking at those data points and bringing insights to the SDR leaders so they can fix problems. If you're in a really small company, you won't have that. You got to go dig through the data yourself. But other than that, man, a good data provider and a good sales engagement tool, look at your CRM and start running smart plays. Can you add on nice things like a dialer? Sure. Can you add a nice thing like, something to prevent your bounce rate to go bad? Sure. Can you add additional things like account maps and like smart things like that? Sure. But you don't need them desperately. Start small and grow from there.
What about hiring SDRs these days, right? Like, has the profile of an SDR changed? Are you looking for anything different? Are you finding any other sources that are better places to hire from? When I think back to my day, and again, this was a long time ago now, but it was always that like young, hungry person out of school that might have been an athlete or pursued something within their education that showed that they were like driven and, could take on some kicks in the teeth and so on and get through that. Are you seeing the same sort of things, or where would you, if somebody's hiring an SDR team today, how would you advise them on approaching that?
This is going to be a long answer, but there's a lot of things that people need to avoid. Number one, if you're hiring people who are just graduated college, we are in 2025. Well, that means that the people graduating college were born in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Holy cow. I'll remind you this. When they were 14 years old, we were 6 years into the iPhone. If you want them to pick up the phone and make phone calls, they are not wanting to do that. Mm-hmm. When I was 14 years old and there was a girl in high school that I thought was cute, I'd pick up the phone and I call her home, and her dad would pick up. I'd be like, oh,
gatekeeper.
Right? Yeah, I have to get past it, right? Hey, this is Tito. I'm calling for whatever name, right? And they'd be like, okay, one moment. Scary. And then with my crush at the time, I would talk on the phone for 45 minutes and I'd ask her out on a date. Holy cow. No 22-year-old kid right now has ever lived that experience of calling a home and having a gatekeeper pick up the phone, having to ask through it, have a conversation, and ask somebody on a date. They just have never done it. That's not how their world works. You slide into the DMs and do whatever other random things, but it doesn't work the same way. So if you go hire that 22-year-old, it will take them longer to ramp today than it took them 10 years ago. Their effectiveness on their phone is going to be way worse than the entry level 10 years ago. More importantly, if you think you can have those people work remote, you're dead. If you're going to hire entry level kids and have them work remote, you're dead. You cannot train them. Everybody knows how to hack their workday, so they're not doing any work. I see SDRs that get hired, kids out of college, and they realize they can just work for 2 hours, pretend like they're doing phone calls, convince their manager to buy a power or parallel dialer. They can make 100 dials in 45 minutes and just call it a day. And like, I don't blame them, dude. If I was in their shoes, I'd do exactly the same. I mean, do you rather make 60K working an hour and a half a day or make 85K working 8 hours a day like a dog? I'd rather work an hour and a half. So those teams are failing. So number one, if you're going to hire entry-level SDRs who have never been SDRs, you got to have them in office. You got to build your sales pitch, and you really got to work on culture, and you got to have them commit to become excellent sales professionals. And we've lost that culture. Like, I'm not seeing that today. I'm not seeing people recruit with like, we have a great training program. We want to like develop you. We want to help you. We want to like, that used to be the case 10 years ago. I'm not seeing any company say that. Everything they're vouching is like, you can work remote. That's it. We're not going to train you. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, the culture has absolutely changed. So don't like, if you're going to hire entry level, definitely in office. If you're going to hire really young people, in office. And it's very different. Somebody can be entry level and not very young. Like, there's people career switching that are 35, 40, 50, or AEs that are going back to the SDR role. I still think that ideally you'd have them at least in office for 3 or 6 months. And then as soon as they're performing, I would allow them to work remote. Alternatively, the only way you can hire people remote is if you really, really know how to manage people remote and you've been doing it for a long time. So I've been doing it for a long time. I've been a remote company since 2015. We've cracked the code. We use our own tool. We have a tool for outreach called Caddy that people can find on AltiSales.io. But it's like a golf caddy for an SDR manager. It helps you see ahead, like, where's the bunker, where's the water, what iron am I going to use, how am I going to hit this ball, how do I prevent problems, and like, how do I get ahead of all these issues, and I just play a good game. But if you don't know how to do that, and if you're not data driven, and if you don't have the right tools, like, I think you just got to hire in office. It's the only way I see teams succeeding.
So I know we have a couple minutes left. I wanted to get to Alexander's question regarding signal discipline teams. So Brandon is the CEO, I know, at Seamless. And so Alexander's question is he just selling Seamless, or is he right about ignoring 90% of the signals and focusing on 10%? Brandon, I don't know, Tito, if you understand this question. Are we thinking signals like opens of emails, or these kind of like engagement analytics, or is there something else there?
I'll tell you how I think about signals. And I didn't know Brandon was still alive. I mean, I think they kicked him out of LinkedIn, and therefore he's disappeared off my radar because I don't use Twitter or any other platforms. But I think he got kicked out just because Seamless was scraping data. But I think his point is actually not horrible. I'll tell you what's happening with signals. People start looking at signals and they get super excited because some signal worked, right? Like, they look at people who, imagine I'm trying to sell this SDR tool, right? Like, oh, this company, number one, has grown their SDR team more than 100% year over year. Number two, they have 3 open SDR roles. Number 3, they're using outreach. Number 4, blah, blah, blah. And number 5, they just commented or, posted or something in a Slack channel, in Twitter, in LinkedIn about looking for X tool. So that's a really strong signal. It's the right ICP, it's the right company. So like, yay. And now what happens? You go explore a signal vendor, whatever it might be. It can be Common Room, it can be whatever other else. I really like, at least the people at Common Room are friends of mine. Shout out to Florian. He's a great guy. Good guy to work for too. But I think that when you go there, you'll start seeing that your strongest signals are really strong and they'll provide value. But as Brandon says, not all signals are worth the same. And I think he's right. Like, How is Common Room or any other signal tool selling you on signals? They say, I just showed you 2 signals, but we got 200. Well, yes, but 190 of those are useless. But if I tell you I showed you 2 signals and we only have 4, you don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So it is kind of strange. I do think that every company has their own signals. I think signals are much more helpful when these are first party signals. So if a PLG company, and I can kind of like merge product usage with how many people from, Coca-Cola are using my tool. And on top of that, how often are they logging in, and how many departments and how many actions, and do they need SOC 2 compliance? And then on top of that, who's commenting? And like, if you can aggregate a lot of signals around users, it'll give you an account signal. And I think that's really powerful. But I agree that they like a lot of signals, and if they're like single reason signals, what you do have to do is overlay your signals with your ICP, right? Like I've run an experiment a long time ago. I'm not going to say the company because I don't want to make them look bad, but they said, we can tell you every company that's hiring SDRs. I was like, okay, cool. Like, show me the signal. Give me a sample of 10 companies. And they sent me a couple of companies hiring SDRs. And I was like, can you show me the source of truth? Like, how do you know this is a manufacturing company? And like, it makes no sense that they're hiring SDRs. I went to look deeper at it. They had a job post for an SDR, but it was like it wasn't a sales development rep. It was like a senior development of rocks or whatever random. I see your signal. I see how you found it, but this is not the actual signal. So you need to overlay what's a good target account with who has the signal. And it's only in that, Venn diagram where both those circles meet that this is helpful. I also think that companies like 6 Sense and Demandbase were the original kind of like signals, or even Bombora. Yeah. People are canceling those tools because they're realizing that it's only 2% of the market that's in market, and 90% of the ones that are in market, if you have a decent brand, they already found you, right? So if you're ZoomInfo and somebody's looking for data providers, what are the chances that somebody's looking for data providers and hasn't stumbled upon ZoomInfo? Yeah. Like, it's just so tiny. You already have a big brand, so you don't need signals. Now, if you're like a nobody company and you're growing kind of fast and you don't have good marketing, you don't have a good website, sure, go do signals.
Awesome. One, I know, Tito, we're coming up on time here, but just real quick, Alexander followed up and was asking, what are you using to track signals if you are, and what are you using to score them? So I guess prioritize out of those 200 useless ones, which ones are real.
I don't score signals. I think it's a bad idea. I think you can use signals in so many ways. You can build your own using clay tables. You can use tools like BirdDog that are cheap and are going to send you a bunch of stuff. You can pick what you want to receive. You can use Common Room. You can use Demandbase. I think it depends what type of solution you're selling. If you're selling cybersecurity, you care about very different signals than if you're selling into sales teams, than if you're selling to marketing teams. Do you sell into marketing teams about the events marketing? You care about different signals than if you sell into like, social media marketing, because in social media, you can evaluate what they're doing in social media. So what I call signals is just an engineering, GTM engineer / data team way to find valuable, so call it signals, but valuable ways that make us believe that somebody has buying intent. What I do score is account fit. But account fit is purely based off of firmographics, right? And that will tell me companies with this many employees. I never do revenue because privately held companies will not disclose revenue, but we can see approximately how many employees they have through LinkedIn. We can see have they been growing or not growing? Are they hiring or not hiring? Do they have this role? Do they not have this role? And if you can just aggregate some of those elements, you'll be able to see if they are a good fit or a bad fit account. That's kind of how I built, and I figured out that Build.com and Rippling and Remote.com and Deal, those are in my tier 1 accounts. I know that because they have hundreds of SDRs. They use outreach. There's elements about them that make them a good fit. I know that if they look at my product, it's going to blow their mind. I'm going to make them super successful. Now I just need really smart people to go get us opportunities there. But signals for those, I literally don't care. Whatever signal I find, I hope my SDR is using. They just posted they're hiring an SDR manager. Great. Find the VP and message them. How are you going to make sure your SDR manager is ramping as quickly as possible? Can I show you something that can help you not only with that, but also make your current SDR managers better? Great, use that signal. You also find out that they were asking about their bounce rate in some of the Slack community. Tell them we have a way to prevent your bounces, but also can help you understand root cause and fix the issues. Would you like to see that? Right? Like every signal becomes a message. If you try to score signals, somebody is hiring, has a bounce rate problem. They're expanding to a new location. What's your email going to say? Hi, George. Below is a bullet point list of all the things I found about you. Like, what? Nonsense. Like, every signal is a message. So don't try to score signals and aggregate signals. Signal, message, signal, message, signal, message. And find what signals matter to you and what signals do not.
Awesome. Tito, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom, and it's been fun like always. Hope that your luggage is found very quickly. Real quick, if people want to learn more about AltiSales, but also Caddy, and maybe it's a good fit for them to take a peek at, what are the best URLs or channels to do so?
Yeah, so if you're watching this delayed in about 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have a new website. It's going to be gtmcaddy.com, gtmcaddy.ai, gtmcaddy.io. They all work. We bought them all. Caddy, you can spell it with a Y, you can spell it with an IE. It doesn't matter. We got them all. They're going to take you to the right place. So GTM Caddy is what you want to go look at. If you don't find me on LinkedIn, Tito Bohrt, super simple with my name. Here's what I'll tell you. I want to continue to elevate the world of sales development. I believe in consistent compounding growth. I believe in doing the little things that make you 3% better, but they make you consistently 3% better. I believe in hitting the gym and eating the salad and doing that consistently to get results, not in, shooting Ozempic on my leg and, doing things that will potentially bring short-term boosts of results, but then I'll come crashing down. So if you guys if you're on outreach.io, I would really appreciate if you send me either a LinkedIn message and you give me the opportunity to show you what we built, because very quickly and easily, we're going to be able to give you a really good perspective on not just what is, hurting your performance when it comes to your outreach users. It could be SDRs, it doesn't matter, but what's the root cause of that? And what are the right solutions to deploy it? I can also help you understand, is Zoom In for the problem? Is Lead IQ the problem? Is your data provider a problem? Are there sequences that are problems? We can really look at data in like multiple layers, ask very deep questions, and find root cause. So a lot of people are just using us to understand, what should my tech stack look like next year? Let's use Caddy. Right now, it all lives under altisales.io, but let's use the tool to figure out what's making a positive impact and what's not. And with it, we'll decide what are the tools that we keep, what are the tools that we churn. So as people are doing their 2026 planning, come take a look and have fun. We're happy to give you a trial for a day or two and show you some of your dashboards so you can get some incredible insights.
Awesome. Well, Tito, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in, all the questions and comments. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.